And we are here. Welcome everyone to our astrology study group. And I'm hoping that you like these presentations and like looking at the PowerPoints. And I think everybody's good. Yeah, I think, admit, okay. Bear with me. Okay. So I hope everybody likes what's happening here. And let's see, like, I'll just put Claire, hello. Get y'all got your video going. There we go. All right. Going over some of the different parts of astrology. I just love astrology, and it just makes so much sense to me in so many ways. And I think it helps people so much when you really get the why behind how we all are and how other people are and how come they're not like us and we're not like them. And it really helps understand that. And that's kind of the bent that I'm taking right now. But I want to get these few things down, like some of these basics. We talked about aspects last week. We went through the inner planets, through the signs, and this next 2 weeks I want to talk about the difference between the sun and rising sign, because it seems to get a little confusing to people, and we'll go over that in detail. And I think I'm going to be able to go through half of them today, and then we'll do half of them next week. And then I want to get into the moon, going through the moon and all those signs, and give it to you from my perspective, but then kind of getting you up to speed with all of that, and then getting into now. How do we look at things now? And just looking at things that's going to happen in the future as these planets move and these angles happen, and how does it affect you? So that, I think, is one of the coolest things about astrology, is interacting with other people, getting along, because, you know, we're all in relationships with some people. I mean, it doesn't be intimate, but we're just all related, and we relate all the time. So understanding that is key, and then looking at how you're going to use this now. And personally, I feel that, you know, I mean, I'm very spiritual, but I'm also very Christian. I'm not dogmatic, but I believe in the Bible and the life of Jesus. And I just, you know, the things that I've studied, there shouldn't be any denouncing of astrology. It was used, you know, that things have been changed through time by people that don't want other people to know things and to find out things. And there's so many double standards within that. So it's a constant. And how would people, I mean, there had to be calendar systems somehow, and astrology is a calendar system. It's a clock. You know, how can you, and how can you celebrate your birthday and not embrace the rest of astrology? How can you how can you understand that the moon is full every month and it rules our tides, and it definitely affects planting cycles and planting, and not understand astrology, not be into it or denounce it. So I'm into just clearing up the misconception about this, taking away all the superstitions and all the unknowns, and really kind of getting the science behind it, so you can understand that it's just a predictable pattern of mathematical changes between things. But in the very first part, we have to get the symbolism down. We have to, that's why we're going through this part, because this is symbolic. You have to get this meaning. It's like the number one is one, a singular, two or two, you know, it's a duality now, you know, so you understand these things. So that's what we're building. All right, without any further ado, I'm going to share my screen and let's get into it. Let's get into it. Take that off, move this. It's gonna ask me in colors, that's fine. Okay, all right, so basically finding the difference between your sun sign and your ascendant. And just to make sure everybody knows, the ascendant is also called your rising sign. And it is the sign that is, if you were to look at a clock, it would be the 9 o'clock position. If you look at your chart and think the clock, that's the easternmost point. That is the sign that was coming up over the horizon when you were born. So let's dig into this. All right. So your rising sign is basically your mask to the world. It is the face on your personality. come on, baby. The ascendant or rising sign is often considered the mask one wears when meeting others. Perhaps it is most aptly thought of as the automatic responses to one's environment. The ascendant shows our natural defenses and how we cope with day-to-day issues. The energies of the sign and condition of the ascendant are most overt and obvious to others, and shows an individual's first natural reaction to new people and situations. That is, again, your exterior. That's what you are showing. That's the first thing, is your ascendant. Before people get to know you, they start judging you by how you look, how you act, the way you walk, if you have a hat on, how your hair is. That's all that outer, mask manifestation. And, I can, where's the one before that? I can put these different things on me. Look at this one, cabbage head. Look at this white face lady here, and that's her over here a little bit. Look at how different that is. And look at this one with the black flowers and also, how she looks. I was trying to get somebody that had some really nice makeup, but I didn't have time. Couldn't find the one I wanted. But anyway, I mean, these people are like showing parts of their personality. I'm making this funny, but these are exteriors that we're showing. Like, look at this guy up here in the upper right, with his hair parted in the middle. He's choosing to slick his hair and part it in the middle to give him a certain look, right? Why doesn't he do the bouffant, up front here kind of thing? Or why doesn't it flip over demurely over his eye to the side? That's reflecting his personality. All right. So the sun, on the other hand, the giver of life, represents our conscious mind in astrology. It represents our will to live and our creative life force. We derive our life purpose from the sun in our natal charts. The sun is our ego. It is also our adult, the part of us that censors our inner child, that reasons things out and makes final decisions. The sun is our basic identity, representing self-realization. The sun also represents our overall vitality. The sun directs us and can be considered the boss in our chart. If the sun is so important in the chart that the happiest people on earth are those who identify without over-identifying with the sun's expressions, like you're not stopping who you are. You're allowing your ego without letting it run away. Basically your ego is just kind of what guides your personality. You can give it a lot of authority or it can be humble. So though one might think that the traits of their sun would come easily to them, the truth is the sun shows what we are learning to be. It's very important to remember that the sun represents reason as opposed to instinct. Grant Louis referred to the sun as indicative of the psychological bias which will dominate your actions. He went on to say, you may think, dream, imagine, hope to be 1,000 things according to your moon and your other planets, but the sun is what you are. And to be your best self in terms of your sun is to cause your energies to work along the path in which they have maximum help from the planetary vibrations. Gets a little esoteric there, but it's basically saying, you got all these other parts that are given the sun information. Okay, here, I think maybe it's here or the next part. When we are acting out our sun, we are purposeful, directed, proud, and creative. On the negative side, we can be haughty, overly willful, self-centered, and judgmental, no matter what the sign. In the chart, the position of the sun by zodiac sign represents the native's life purpose and the style in which they leave their mark on the world. By house, okay, get this too, this is another factor, we're not going to cover this today, but by the house, the sun's position shows where our personalities shine. The areas of life associated with that house reveal the types of experiences that contribute to our sense of individuality that shapes our sense of pride. These areas of life are ones in which we seek to express and focus our sun signs qualities. My sun is in the 9th house. I'm sharing astrology with you. I'm not sharing business analysis, like if it were in the 2nd house, okay? Note, when interpreting your chart, you will be particularly interested in both the sun sign and the sun's house. For example, someone may have the sun in Aries in the 2nd house, and if so, they would read both the interpretation for the sun in Aries and the interpretation of the sun in the 2nd house. You blend those together then. Another person may have the sun in Aries in the 8th house and would read the interpretations of the sun in Aries and the sun in the 8th house. While these two individuals share the sun sign, they express their Aries sun in different ways. So the 2nd house Aries sun would express that Aryan energy more through 2nd house things like finances, money, their things, their stuff, you know, the way they like stuff, their possessions. The sun in the 8th house would be other people's money. You would want to control other people's money, or it might be a lot more to do with death, the end of things. Maybe that's the sun in the 8th, Aries in the 8th house might be starting an undertaker business, you know, or something that's like more like that. Okay, anyway, expressing the sun in different ways. I like to think about your rising sign is your porch and your sun sign is your house. So there's all kinds of houses and there's all kinds of porches. Some there's a great big grand porch, and others there's hardly any porch or no porch at all. What about apartment? You know, you just have a door, right? And you just walk up to the door. But what do you have on your door? Do you have anything on the door? Do you have a wreath? Do you have it, what color is it painted? Do you have a sign, a peephole, a knocker, a welcome? What about a mat? Do you have a mat there? Do you have a little plant there? I mean, what is it? It's like, what can you have and what do you have based on, you know, that's your, I'm just being funny with how you know, it could be that way. Depends on where you live, of course, but you can see all these different combinations that things, you know, could possibly be. So accept your sun and happiness will come more easily to you. Deny its better traits and you won't know where you're going in life. The sun sign is your style when you're at your best, and it describes your goals and life purpose. Another way to think about the sun is to imagine that it is your personality's boss. This is what I like here. Mercury acts much like the secretary to the boss, and the boss sends Venus out when personal relationships are the issue. When the boss wants action, it turns to Mars. But remember, no matter what the situation, the sun is the boss of your personality. All right, sun in Aries. I want to go through, I'm going to give you the sun, just like we did through the others, and the sun in Aries and then the sun in the Ascendant, so you can kind of see the subtle differences. And then get the idea of Aries a little bit better, and then Taurus of each one. And you see, we got to see the flavor. But let me say this at this point. There's a lot on all of these. I could probably do a whole PowerPoint on just each one of these. So if you are interested, of course, you know, keep looking deeper within these, getting a little bit more meanings. But one other thing that also influences this, and it's hard to do something totally on this, but I got to give you the concept. No matter what it is, we have other factors that are going to either enhance this or kind of play it down. For instance, and I think I've woven this in some of these as we go, but I just wanted to make it kind of say it out front. Say the sun is in Aries, you know, so we know that that's going to be kind of aggressive or on, loud, busy. You know, it's more vibrant, it's more intense. If we have something like, now say this person has a Pisces moon, maybe conjunct the sun or something, that's gonna totally diminish that Aries. It's not totally, but I mean, it's gonna definitely play it down. You know, that Aries, you know, on to the next, pioneering, let's go, come on, it's gonna totally be changed if that personality has a Pisces moon or a Cancer moon. So, you know, so sometimes when you're reading and you're hearing some of this and it doesn't sound totally right, that's why. And that's what you got to just kind of put that in your head. It's like, oh, okay. Or if you're reading about somebody else or they're going, it's like, well, hold on. We got a few layers here. You've got this layer and then you got this layer, but then now you got this thingy over here giving you a little check and balance. You know, it's like, because I got brown hair, is it thick or is it thin? Is it straight or is it curly? Is it, you know, so those are the little things that are about brown hair. So about sun in Aries, is it enhanced? Is there a lot of other aspects that feed it? You know, it's like, you know, little kids kind of doing something not right and you're laughing. You're like, it's funny. Look at him, it's funny. You can encourage that behavior. You know, it may not be right, but you think it's funny. You know, they're doing something slightly devious. And you're like, you know, they're going to hear you do that. And they're going to always do that because they want to hear you snicker and laugh. So it's like, do we have planets that are supporting it like that? It shouldn't be. Or do we have something that's kind of keeping it in check? It's like, if we got this runaway Aryan energy, do we have some things to pull some reins on it to say like, you know, you're really fired. We need some little water in there, and we need a little earth to ground it. Are there those things in the chart to kind of check that? So we just got to keep that in mind as we go through this. And again, they're layers. It's not one thing is all inclusive. Oh, I'm Sun in Aries in the 9th house. Well, what else is enhancing or diminishing that? All right, so Sun in Aries, people are very charismatic. They're straightforward. They're bold, they're impulsive, and relentless in their pursuit. People with Sun in Aries are direct, straightforward, and uncomplicated. They expect the same from others and are baffled when they don't always get it. Sun in Aries people are natural athletes, or at least athletic, or at the very least, their natural inclination is to use their bodies to get things done. Push through this. They're not given to long, drawn-out emotional moments, nor are they big on planning ahead. Instead, they live their lives simply. What is happening right now is the most important thing. And patience is definitely a vice, and innovation is a huge strength. Aries love to start anything new, and they have trouble sitting still. They are pioneers in whatever they do, and there is a very basic quality of bravery in these people that is unmistakable. Aries generally knows what they want, and they know the quickest routes to get there, to getting it. They take shortcuts if they must, but generally everything is above board. Underhandedness just isn't their style. Some people are bold, but even the quieter ones are brave. Nothing gets them going more than a fresh slate, the promise of a new day and a brand new start. I love mornings. Aries, I love mornings. It's my favorite time of day. Aries enjoys a challenge, and Aries sons are happiest when their lives are moving forward and active. There's a childlike quality to all Aryan sun people, and it's often quite charming. So we get this idea of this bubbly, straightforward, blunt, happy-go-lucky, non-emotional sort of energy here, you know, with that personality. People with Sun in Aries. Now I want you to think about some of this, and I'm giving you people. I tried to find some that was through some different areas, and some searches gives me more people than others. So some of these will have a lot more, but I want you to at least get a taste of this. So Sun in Aries: Elton John, Diana Ross, Ashley Judd, Aretha Franklin, Lady Gaga, William Shatner, Jackie Chan, Eddie Murphy, Marlon Brando, Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I definitely, can we hopefully all see some of these Aries qualities of these persons? None of these, I think, none of these people are shy. I would say none of these other people are shy. They're all showy a little bit. They're a little bit out there. They're, you know, definitely not a back seat. Just look at that. I mean, like, look at Jackie Chan. I mean, he's that the martial artist that made all those movies, just doing crazy martial arts. He's just amazing, you know. And then Lady Gaga with all her tactics. Aretha Franklin. I mean, just that, you know, just that power of that voice. You know, Diana Ross, Elton John, you know, his style is just, you know, Quentin Tarantino. I mean, for being a writer, I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, his stuff is definitely edgy. Okay. All right. Aries rising now. So kind of take that sun, but now we're going to just kind of move it to an exterior. It's going to change. So they are still direct and they're quick. Their first instinct is to do rather than think. Planning ahead, forget it. Aries rising simply charges forward with much ado. The sun Aries is a little bit more contemplative and plotting, you know, a little bit, you know, because that's your personality. But the rising sign is, again, that exterior, that front porch. So we got that Aries energy just right there out front. This position does not make a person aggressive. Forthright, yes, but aggression is too strong for these natives. They have a youthful, direct manner that sees what it wants and generally goes for it. At the same time, there isn't malice in their intent. Same thing, okay? There's not that, Aries doesn't have that type of energy. It's out there, bright. It can't be underhanded. Competitively, they generally put most of their pressure on themselves. These people love to come out ahead in all they do. They get ready quickly, they walk quickly, they have little patience for dilly-dallying. Their temper is quick too. Where like an Aries sun, may not have a temper problem, but they definitely are like to do things quickly. But I think the Aries rising is more on that outward body, just has to just keep moving there. Their temper is quick also in the rising, but it's also quick to disappear. So rarely do you find Aries rising people holding grudges. Their strengths lie in their enterprising ways. Finishing things they start does not always come as easily unless Mars is in a place that's more tenacious, like Taurus or Scorpio, something fixed. Okay, that's what that's saying. So that's why I wanted to put some of these things through there. So again, you can see this, like the Aries rising personality would be that front porch that just is constantly changing. You know, its face is changed, everything's different, moving. So unless the ruler, their Mars, is calming things down, it's going to lend itself to it. Despite a rather brusque and independent manner, these natives are usually very willing to compromise in their relationships and are very attached to the people they hold dear. You are, okay, so this is kind of written in that. It goes back and forth with text, tense. Anyway, you are expressing the power to create on the material plane, but you're also capable of expression on the intuitive level. You understand the capacity of intuition to illuminate your life and the lives of others. So it's not so much there who's ruling it, they're using that power of expression externally. Okay, during your life, you will find yourself going through cycles of intuitive insight and more practical application. All intuition without practical effort carries low impact. So you have to develop a compassionate style for delivering your psychic messages. See that Aries rules the head too, and that's why they're picking up on this. Was kind of a spiritual side of this meaning. But if it's on your exterior, your face you show to the world, you're going to be trying to be picking up on other people. You know, it's like Aries is, you know, at the ram. So if you can't do that with life, what you do it with is, you know, the pituitary. The pituitary is out, you know, like those ram horns. So if you're Aries rising, that's kind of like you're trying to direct that intuitiveness out there. All right, people, qualities you can easily demonstrate are your endless enthusiasm for life, quick wit, again, because it's more stimulating in the brain and how you're projecting yourself to the world. I have to be witty, you know, and your spontaneous responses. Practice being enthusiastic about the path of others and inject humor into difficult situations to ease their path. Don't withhold your true response to their sadness and pain. If you are impatient, be impatient to see them reach the next level of creativity. If you are foolish, be foolish with your willingness to help. If you're jealous, show it as protectiveness of their tender hearts. As you practice the strength of your rising sign, you will find that what began as lively, expressive personality is developing into your soul expression. For Aries, the shift is from I am toward I aspire to become. You may like to be original and do not mind going it alone. You may feel that you do not fit into groups very well and that you do not naturally blend in and cooperate with others very easily. You like to be the leader or the loner. So the little bit about the rising there, it just I think it makes the person that takes that Aries energy and it gets a little bit more edgy. Yeah. All right, some famous people with Aries rising. Check this out now. I mean, and then you can kind of look at where, and it's telling you where their Mars is, so we know if it's enhancing it or not. Joan Baez, Aries is Aries, and of course rising, but her Mars is in Sagittarius. A fire sign, and she was pretty fiery, you know. I mean, her music was pretty fiery there. Don't know him. Let's see, Brahms. Look at there, the Aries Ascendant, Lloyd Bridges, Ray Davies, Sandra Dee, Bo Derek. I don't know much about her, but look, her Mars is in Pisces, so that made her definitely more receptive, emotional. You know, it took that Mars in a different place. Sandy Duncan, wait, that's an old actor. I can't remember that too much. Billy Graham, look at that. I get another Mars and Sag. And look how out there he is too, being out there and then having that Mars driving that. It just adds to it. You know, Ron Howard. Okay, look at there, another Mars and Sagittarius, and look at how famous. You know, he was a kid actor, right? Wish I knew some more of these people. Lee Iacocca, Mars and Aquarius. Interesting. Nancy Kerrigan, was she that skater, I think? Mars and Capricorn. kind of making her diligent and constant, and you know, that Aries ascendant, and that would be making her stick to itness, long hours training. Chuck Mangione, look at it, Mars and Scorpio, a horn player, you know, in the band, you know, he's out front Aries, but the you know, that Mars and Scorpio, he's, you know, part of that. That's kind of interesting. Bette Midler, look at her, Mars and Leo. She's just used the boogie woogie bugle girl, big out there, the Rose, you're right. That just totally, you know, made that more like that. Pete Rose in Aquarius, the baseball player. David Spade, I forget who he is. Barbara Streisand, Aries ascendant in Mars in Gemini. She was both a singer and an actress. Okay, interesting. That exterior part that, you know, as people showed to the world. Okay, Sun in Taurus. The Sun in Taurus people are deeply rooted in their thoughts, words, and actions. There's something very solid about Taurus, no matter what the rest of the charts say. Though they are dependable most of the time, this generally shows itself more in habit than in outright helpfulness. Taurus are sensual folk, and this includes sex, but extends to pleasures in all areas. They delight in the sensual pleasures of food, a comfortable blanket. They want their blankie, a richly colored aquarium to look at, the smell of flowers or spring rain, pleasing melodies coming from their stereos and so forth. Some might even say that they live through their senses most of the time. When Taurus natives work, they work hard. They do so with steadiness that may be rarely considered quick, but rather it's dependable. Plodding, a steady effort that has its payoff. Security is immensely important to Taurus. Some of them actively seek wealth, while others are content to be comfortable. The possessiveness associated with Taurus shows up in all areas of life in some way. Taurus likes to own things and sometimes people, a nice home and a piece of land. A solar Taurus who has kicked his or her feet up is rooted there. You'd be hard pressed to get them to move. On the mental level, you'll likely have the same problem. Taurians stick with things and ideas, and therein lies one of the reasons they are known for their stubbornness. Remember, it's like the first fixed sign. You know, Aries is the first cardinal. Here's the first fixed sign. Taurus is a fixed sign, and they have a fair measure of tradition and steadiness in their makeup that keeps them rooted. In love and relationships, there's a earthy kind of possessiveness that may be considered jealous by some, but there's actually quite a difference between being possessive and being jealous. People with Sun in Taurus: George Clooney, Mark Zuckerberg, Orson Welles, Salvador Dali, John Wilkes Booth, Karl Marx, William Shakespeare, Adolf Hitler, Cher, Vladimir Lenin, Sigmund Freud, Saddam Hussein, Janet Jackson, Shirley MacLaine, Uma Thurman, Audrey Hepburn. So this is interesting. We got a bit of this earthiness here. You know, when you try to look at the broad sense of like all these people with the sun, you know, what kind of common thread? Yeah, there's some kind of an earthiness to them. I don't know, you know, I mean, of course we don't know any of them, but we've seen and you can witness the life of some of these people more, or sensual or pleasure oriented, security threatened, sense, you know, being driven by senses, maybe at the expense of others. You know, there we would have something like Mark Zuckerberg, Karl Marx, Adolf Hitler. It would definitely, you know, Lenin, look at all that, at the expense of others. Security. All right, Taurus rising. Slow, steady, capable are adjectives that we can safely attach to individuals with Taurus rising. These natives have tremendous stamina and staying power. They're often quite loyal to those they care about. Although they generally don't come on strong, they have personal presence, and they fairly radiate stability. The sign on the ascendant generally reveals how people start anything new. Taurus by nature is resistant to change. It can be difficult to sway Taurus rising natives, but often rather stubborn and fixed in their ways. Their first responses are to feel things out, not in the way a Pisces might attune to the environment, but in the realm of the five senses. Smell good, tastes good, looks good. They have a well-developed sense of smell and touch and respond to the material world. Theirs is a practical approach to life. Security is one of their foremost considerations before undertaking anything new. Now, it's like you can see the difference. I mean, you can see the samenesses here. We've got, certain things that are definitely the same. We got stubbornness, slow, steady. But you could also be showing this outward and not really being that way. So we'll look at some more. Taurus rising natives are also quite cautious and careful. With a fixed sign on the ascendant, they are not known for their flexibility. Rather, they possess determined single-mindedness. So even more so, because that's your face. You show that, well, I'm single-minded. I'm just not flexible. I'm cautious, careful. So more than not, Taurus rising prefers the good things in life. Self-indulgence can be a weakness for many with this ascendant, more so than with the sun, because the sun exudes a little bit more magnanimousness and more encompassing. The self-indulgence isn't quite as strong. So they're often collectors in some way. Taurus rising natives place a lot of value on their material possessions. Now that kind of is the same for both, because that value is strong. Taurus rising individuals prefer to dress in quality clothes with a comfortable feel to them. They are rarely ostentatious in their presentation. Many have strong and sturdy physiques. Okay, so the rising would definitely want to look more quality, more so. And I would think the sun would be wanting to be more comfortable. Often rather possessive in partnership, these natives won't easily break up their relationships. Taurus rising natives are often very comfortable, or comforting to be around. They have stability about them that's soothing. Some people, famous people, Taurus rising. Bo Derek, Taurus rising. Queen Latifah. Lee Iacocca, interesting. George Lucas. Liza Minnelli. Nick Nolte. Bonnie Raitt. Dan Rather. Carl Sagan. Carlos Santana. That's kind of cool. I mean, his music, is really comforting. He's very solid, got that exterior of solid, and he's kind of has that same riff. I think he's got that certain style where he leaves out a certain note, that's interesting. Dionne Warwick, Sigourney Weaver. And then they put, the Venus, which rules Taurus, and that's why they put it into different signs. You can look at that, but gives you a little more sense of if it tones it up or if it tones it down. Okay. Sun and Gemini. Sun and Gemini people are bright, energetic, and have an infectious sense of humor. They also have an urge for self-expression is strong, or their urge there is very strong. These natives, because you got two things happening. The sun is like you got two things with the sun's energy. Whoa. These natives are often just as interested in collecting information as they are in sharing it. Curious to a fault. These people will be like the Gladys Kravitz, maybe. What's going on? Let me see. Geminis have a finger in every pie. Solar Geminis are flexible and changeable people. Their ability to adapt quickly to new situations generally gains them plenty of friends and social contacts. Often they're quite adept at fitting in with others because they're malleable. It's now the first mutable sign, so they're going to move around. Geminis easily adopt the moods of those around them. They are friends to people from all walks of life and are not easily intimidated. It's funny. It's like Geminis easily adopt the moods of those around them. Funny, it's one time, somebody was talking to somebody that had an Irish accent, and I'm just listening. I forget what I was doing. I was listening. I was probably working somewhere, and the one person was a Gemini talking to the Irish person. By the end of the conversation, the Gemini was speaking with a slight little Irish lilt. I'm like, oh my God. Like, are you mocking her, or are you just kind of just doing that? I'd ask. It's like, are you mocking? Did you know? Like, no, I didn't know they do. I didn't know. Anyway, It can be difficult to know what Gemini really feels at any given moment. They are often very impressionable and scattered. There's usually a nervous air to Geminis that can make more personal characters a little uneasy, like Taurus. Taurus is, would be like, sit down, have some chocolate. It is not always intuitive to trust Geminis to be loyal or keep secrets. There's two, they want to be blah, 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 blah. Geminis often, especially like Gemini and Venus, there's a lot of flitting, that way prefer many things. Geminis often flit about, moving quickly and keeping busy every step of the way. Many people with this position of the sun has gained quite a bit of knowledge in their lifetime, but they don't often possess specialized knowledge. So they're like jack of all trades. They got a lot of stuff. They've learned a lot of little stuff, but they maybe not depthy, unless there's something in the chart. What if, unless they had, what could it be? What could be? Because Mercury can't get that far from the sun. Mercury, maybe Mercury in Taurus there. It might help. Where is it? Okay, this is because Geminis have relatively short attention spans. Restless is especially common with this position of the sun. They're also very dexterous. They do stuff with their hands. They're probably, they might be piano players. People like to knit, doing something with their hands, juggling. Usually quite affable. Geminis enjoy, or cards, another thing. Geminis enjoy the light side of life. This tendency to take things lightly makes them quite pleasing to be around, but it can be maddening to people seeking support on deeper issues of life. Geminis are both interesting and interested. So with the Scorpios, it could get a little, and then they're that way with them, back and forth. People with Sun in Gemini. Marilyn Monroe, Donald Trump, Kanye West, Prince, Tupac, one of the original most pronounced rappers, Paul McCartney. I also think, I seem to remember both Paul and John had Aries rising as well. I was surprised to find that because a lot of people don't have that time as rising. Clint Eastwood, Russell Brand, Bob Dylan, Stevie Nicks, Judy Garland. These are all very busy. I mean, Marilyn Monroe, she, kind of fizzled out before we knew a lot about her, but, she was in the political realm and she was an actress. She sang. These people are definitely busy. They're very broad in their, again, they can cover a lot of stuff, and then having other things in their chart would make them more focused or not. Excuse me. Gemini rising. Those born with Gemini rising see the world as a place to learn. They are curious about the people around them. It sounds similar to Sagittarius rising, but there is a few differences. While Sagittarius seek to expand their mental and physical horizon in a broad sense, Gemini is most interested in moving about in the social circles. These are people who love to ask questions, to move around freely, and to mingle. Definitely restless and often quick in physical expression, natives of the Gemini Ascendant exude an air of impatience, even if they don't mean it. There's a cleverness to Gemini Ascendants that can intimidate some, especially sensitive folks. Their facility with words can be a wonderful asset, although sometimes Gemini rising individuals identify too much with their mental agility and forget in their personal interactions and communications to nurture the people around them. My husband has a Gemini rising, and he's always got, he's like, he'll throw a sideways meaning of something that a lot of people take literally. It's like, no, it's not like that. Or puns or plays on words all the time. But him being a Cancer, that kind of makes this not so heady, but it does get edgy. It gets to be like, okay, enough. I don't want to hear no more fun. It's like if you say something about a song, he starts singing and humming the song. It's like, look, You know, I don't want to say, you know, the guy was just sitting on the bay, sitting on the dock of the bay. It's like, I don't want to, yeah. So that's sort of the rising is a little bit more on the front there. Certain lack of warmth in presentation can be a result, although this style is generally a facade. It's not immediately apparent to most. People with, for example, predominant water signs may feel a little ill at ease with Gemini rising before they get to know them, while strong air types are more fully appreciate the fun and cleverness of the individuals. You know, the person with all feeling might be put off by so much mental stuff. It's like, oh God, this person be just chill, or be like, oh, recognize my feelings and not be all this. I have found two styles of presentation most common with Gemini rising. One is bubbly and changeable and talkative and a little quirky. These natives are interesting and fun. They constantly explain things, whether it's their own behavior and opinion or those around them. Another distinct style is a rather cool and intellectual demeanor. These natives are often quite witty and clever, but they present themselves in a less cheerful and changeable way than the first group. Their observations are sharp and their overall manner is a tad brusque. No matter the style, Gemini rising natives are given to analysis and making sense of their world. Their power of observations are well developed. They are mentally active more often than not. Their minds are racing, and they almost always have something bright or witty to say. It's easy for individuals with this position to get sidetracked as their curiosity is large, their minds are quick, and their attention span is short. Famous people, Gemini rising. Neil Armstrong, Drew Barrymore, Donovan, Kathy Lee Gifford, Barbara Mandrell, singer, Gregory Peck, Michelle Pfeiffer, Bruce Springsteen, Orson Welles, Gene Wilder. I can see that. These people are pretty, you know, Patsy Cline, pretty versatile, a lot of stuff. And the sun in Cancer. These people are intuitive, emotional, stable, steadfast, and they make great listeners. Sun in Cancer natives have a strong survival instinct. They are protective of those they care about and of themselves too. They are often quite reticent about sharing their inner selves to the rest of the world and are often caught up in reminiscence. Cancers have a reputation for moodiness, although this trait is most evident when the moon is in Cancer. So it could be every month, or if their moon is in Cancer also, for sure. But definitely when it comes around every month, it could, you know, that's the monthly for the Cancers, whether they're female or male. Cancer is often guided by their feelings as they size up places, people, and situations based on how they make them feel and what they sense of them. Cancer's lives often grow easier as they get older. Others find Cancers complex, interesting, and sometimes baffling. They'd rather hide their vulnerability, particularly in their youth, although as they age, they learn to work with it. Their love runs deep and they love people, but they need their emotional space from time to time, a retreat of some sorts. Of course, they go into their shell, right? Cancer is a very sensitive sign, and they don't always appreciate it when you are blunt with them. And sometimes you don't know it. You just stabbed the crab and you didn't even know it. Their reactions to hurt will depend on how thick a shell they've developed. Most Cancers react by withdrawing or retreating. Some have developed an ability to manipulate others to get what they want. Now that's the zinger of Cancer. Oh, what? Nothing. They avoid direct confrontation almost as a rule. Cancers are, in fact, quite yielding and soft when you have them in the right mood. They are one of the most hospitable signs of the zodiac. Sure, they can be touchy and indirect, but they are often very dependable, caring souls. People, Sun in Cancer. Debbie Harry, Princess Diana, Meryl Streep, Estee Lauder, Helen Keller. I mean, that would make sense that she would be more feeling oriented. Courtney Love, look at that. I mean, look at that name, Love. And Angela Merkel, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Nikola Tesla, Nelson Mandela, the 14th Dalai Lama. Interesting, some of these. I mean, like Alexander the Great. Wow. You know, Nikola Tesla. Wow. And Nelson Mandela. I mean, these are like, you know, big humanitarian kind of people. You know? Helen Keller. Amazing. All right. Cancer rising. These people come across as gentle creatures. There's something familiar about them. They're the guy or the gal next door. When they enter a room, they don't walk in with a splash. Instead, they move to the sides and weave their way inwards. These people have a familiar feel to them because they are rather sensitive to their environment. They can get flustered easily, especially in public. Their first instinct when threatened or on unfamiliar ground is to protect themselves, because that's, you know, that Cancer exterior shell is out there. They're that sensitive, emotional. Excuse me. When the new situations present themselves, they can immediately withdraw or act shy. Generally, these people come across as caring. They seem quite sweet, even innocent. Usually, these people appear unassuming enough to be quite approachable. Some Cancer ascendants, however, have retreated into themselves so much it can be quite the opposite. Since Capricorn is on the descendant, you know, the other side, Cancer ascendant people are looking for structure and security in their partner and their relationships. These people function best when their partner displays strength, financial and emotional stability, and know-how. In fact, many Cancer ascendants prefer it when their relationship has well-defined rules. This is your bank account. This is my bank account. You do this, I do that. Cancer ascendants prefer it when they're, okay, security is a basic need, and they are generally more willing to give up some personal freedom in order to get it. In some cases, Cancer ascendant people can surprise their partners. Why? Because they come across as rather unassuming, family-oriented people. When it comes to marriage, they have a rather matter-of-fact, practical approach. You certainly feel the energy of other people and need to have inner clarity so that you can interpret those signals correctly. Therefore, it's important for you to have a spiritual practice that is designed to cultivate clarity of mind. They have a strong need for emotional security and belonging. They're deeply attached to the past, heritage, roots, family, cherished friends, familiarity. Making radical changes or moves away from what is known and safe can be very painful or difficult. They tend to cling and hold on to people, memories, possessions, sentimental thing with sentimental significance. Having a home or a safe haven is very important to you. Their approach to life is emotionally subjective, are sensitive to the emotional atmosphere and subtle undercurrents of feelings in and around you. Instinctive and non-rational, they're often unable to give a clear, simple explanation for their actions. It just feels right or it doesn't. The emotions and personal loyalties tend to color your thoughts and opinions. You view life from a very personal perspective and often cannot mentally detach yourself from your own personal bias and prejudices. You're able to be concerned primarily with how something affects you and those dear and close to you, rather than with the principles on the broader social implications. For instance, you may be very patriotic and feel that whatever my country does is right without really knowing much about the other nation's policies or point of view. Simply put, if it's good for me and mine, it is good. If it's not good for me and mine, it's not good. Tenacious, loyal, protective, and supportive of those you care about. You have a very strong, nurturing, motherly nature regardless of your gender. You empathize with others and intuitively sense the feelings and needs of other people. Compassionate and sympathetic, you're easily moved by other people's pain, and you're often the one others seek out when they need comfort, reassurance, or help. Now, this is sometimes interesting. I like to look at some people's charts. There's a friend I have that let's see, him and his wife, they're both Scorpio, but he's a Cancer rising. And, you know, he's this brusque kind of guy, he's a worker, you know, outside, you know, works a lot and just, you know, but then he's got this soft, but can you see my wife? It's like, where did this soft part come from in there, you know? And he's, so you can see this, you know, when you get something that's opposite like that with people. Sometimes it hits you straight in the face. You're like, I can definitely see this, he's kind of this hidden, focused, definitely this, Scorpio sun, which we'll get to next time. But then the soft exterior, it's just a strange mix sometimes. And sometimes you don't see these really clear unless you have something really different in somebody. Let me just say that. So some Cancer rising people share Tony Curtis, Salvador Dali, Albert Einstein, Farrah Fawcett, Judy Garland, Frank Gifford, Sarah Gilbert. She was on Little House on the Prairie, I think that's who that was. Merv Griffin, MC Hammer. That's interesting. Angelina Jolie, Jerry Lewis, Cancer Ascendant, Johnny Mathis. Oh, no, look at that. I mean, come on, look, Johnny Mathis. It's not for me to say I love you. I'm not going to go too much into it, but all those sappy songs, I mean, they're great. You just, my heart just like, oh my God, oh, I love so much. Steve McQueen, Oliver North, Kathy Rigby, Julia Roberts, Kurt Russell, Steven Spielberg. Isn't that interesting? Cheryl Teagues, Lily Tomlin, John Travolta, Cancer Ascendant, huh? Vincent Van Gogh. All right. Sun and Leo. I hope we can get through these. We might go a few minutes after today. Sun and Leo. The Sun and Leo people are passionate, warm, bold, intense, and love being the center of attention. The worst thing you can do to a Leo is accuse them of bad intentions, displaying behavior that makes them think you don't appreciate them runs close to second. These happy, jovial people become mighty hurt when others don't see them for their noble intentions. There's an unmistakable regal air to solar Leos. They are dignified, even noble folk. Leos have a reputation for being conceited, but think again. Leos do feel important, but this generally takes the form of wanting to change the world in some way, to make the world a better place. They are generally motivated by affection for people and often have big dreams and plans to make people happy. Generally, Leos are hardworking. After all, they are attracted to the good things in life, and they know how to get work to get them. And they know that they have to work to get them. It is sometimes difficult to imagine Leos as go-getters. If you happen to catch them in one of their languid moods, these people can sleep in, laze around, and luxuriate for long periods of time. However, when they do get to work, they do it with intensity and determination. In this way, they're not unlike their symbol, the lion. Loyal and sometimes rather traditional, Leos are, after all, a fixed sign. They'll hold on to the situations and people for a very long time before they give up. Although on the surface, Leos appear rather confident, they can actually be some of the most humble, soft souls around. They are first to blame themselves when something goes wrong. Instead of being conceited, self-absorbed show-offs of reputation, they're usually very self-aware, self-conscious, and yes, even humble. People with Sun in Leo. Madonna, Barack Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, Jennifer Lopez, Napoleon Bonaparte, Whitney Houston, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sandra Bullock, Bill Clinton, Carl Jung, Mick Jagger, Robert De Niro. Aren't these all not show-offs? I mean, on some level, you see that these people, they're just, they're not a Cancer, right? Yeah. Leo rising. Leo rising people cannot help but be noticed. They radiate a special energy and magnetism that gets others' attention. Sometimes it's because they are loud people who pay a lot of attention to their personal appearance, especially their hair. Other times it's due to a regal manner that simply demands interest from others. Leo ascendant people are very self-aware and body conscious. They are actually aware of others and how they come across. In fact, these people are especially aware of their personal backdrop. They consider what the people they're with and the environment they're in do to their own image. Often Leo rising natives feel as if they're on stage even in the privacy of their own homes. They are given to rash decisions, temper tantrums, and excesses. However, they have plenty of staying power, drive, and their idealism keeps them from getting into too much trouble. The desire to oversee the goings on in their circle can sometimes amount to bossiness. If this desire doesn't go too far, however, it can mean a person who wants to make sure that the people they love are all right. The tendency to overestimate things and themselves is generally present. This is due to a natural enthusiasm and optimism about any new undertaking. Sometimes they are walking commercials. In fact, Leo rising people make excellent promoters. Leo rising are generally demonstrative and given to grand gestures. They have an unusual need to be admired. They have strong physical constitution. No matter their age, they seem like they're kids at heart, fun-loving, warm, generous-spirited. They're magnanimous and outgoing. It can be modified by the placement of their sun or house also. This is because the ruling planet of Leo ascendant is the sun. For example, a Leo rising person with sun in Virgo may not come across as strongly as a Leo rising person with the sun in Aries. Sure. No matter the placement of the sun, however, Leo rising natives are quite self-aware and optimistic. They have a natural flair for presentation, an eye for quality, and a hard-to-resist warmth of style. They want to make things happen and create a stir. Famous people, Leo rising. There was a lot of them in this one. Muhammad Ali, I won't read them all though. George Bush, Johnny Depp, Dale Earnhardt, Anne Frank, Al Gore, Ashley Judd, Naomi Judd. I mean, they're both out there. I've seen them together. Steve Martin, look at that. I mean, come on, he would have to do. Remember that guy, Paul Lind? Al Pacino, O.J. Simpson, Nancy Sinatra. Come on, the Leo rising. I mean, they're just there, right? Tina Turner. Wow. Flip Wilson, Lily Tomlin. Leo rising. Okay, Sun in Virgo. They are diligent, industrious, caring, organized, with incredible intuition. It is rare to find a stereotypical nitpicky, exacting, clean freak in modern day Virgos. Although the sign of Virgo has evolved with the times, there are some unexplainable, unmistakable traits that remain. They are generally respectable, hardworking individuals who have a love of knowledge and know-how. Virgos are sensitive to surroundings and they tend to embarrass easily. They are generally reticent when faced with anything or anyone new. However, once they feel comfortable, they can talk up a storm. Many Virgo suns are not comfortable in the limelight. These types are just fine living in the background as long as they feel useful and appreciated. They have a strong sense of responsibility. Even when they're convinced themselves to be irresponsible about something or another, they worry about it. When Virgos are not involved in some kind of project, there's generally a vague feeling of discontent. Even when their lives are filled up with work, they are rest and somewhat creative. Even when their lives are filled up with work, they are rest and somewhat nervous creature. I don't know what I meant there. The fear of underperforming is very strong. Virgos want to do things well. Some are exacting and thorough, and other Virgos have convinced themselves to do a less than perfect job will generally feel incomplete. So they definitely have to do it right, to do it good. Detailed, get it. Virgo is simply quite concerned with health matters and nutrition. It's attracted to all that's natural and pure, and is generally unafraid to explore all that is not. Those Virgos that find a true interest or calling easily become connoisseurs because of their attention to details. They have enormous observation powers. It gives them the ability to learn the ins and outs of any subject. These people love to do research, analytical, detailed work. They'll be happy to pick it apart and then put it back together to get to grasp the big picture. People, Sun in Virgo. Mike Huckabee, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jackson. Like, look how exacting, like Michael Jackson. I don't know if you ever watched any of his stuff. The last movie I think that he put out was, I mean, so exacting with the voice and the movements and, very exacting. Keanu Reeves, Freddie Mercury, Amy Winehouse, Sean Connery, Bernie Sanders, Stephen King. Ooh, isn't that interesting? I mean, detailed in his books. Virgo rising now, they're A little understated in their personal mannerisms and appearance, although a lot depends on the position of Mercury. Generally, there is an intelligent and reserved aura about Virgo risings individuals that is unmistakable. They're actually somewhat shy people who need time to analyze things about them before they warm up to both situations and people. One of the biggest personality traits of this position is body awareness. People with Virgo ascendants are sensitive to any discomfort or other signals their body gives them. Many of these people are really kind of hypersensitive to the environment too. They're especially interested and concerned with physical health, body-mind awareness, yoga. They could be particular about food, although they have good appetites. There can be an unmistakable pickiness about what they put in and on their bodies. There's also a tendency to worry. They also notice the tiniest details that others overlook. Despite the Virgo rising tendency to appear rather collected and professional, relationships can sometimes be messy simply because these natives don't always see their partners and partnerships clearly. There's a quiet charm to many Virgo rising people once they have a chance to warm up to new people and situations. So you're probably going to get a little bit more reserved here. Shyness, maybe like a coldness at first until they get a little bit more warm. You'll find that they have a lot to offer. They'll help you out of a jam, go out on a limb for you, and surprise you with a natural modesty under somewhat critical and standoffish manner. There you go. The physical effect of spiritual work can be felt on the nervous system. When your path is clear, you expect to feel calm and collected. When it's not, you can get a range of anxiety that you would feel. Ooh, there's a lot of people Virgo rising. Hank Aaron, Woody Allen, Dick Cheney, David Copperfield. Now look at this. I mean, people that would be meticulous on that outside, that outer branch that people are seeing. Patty Duke, Faye Dunaway, Jamie Farr, Betty Ford, Patty Hearst, Hugh Hefner, Gene Kelly, Katie Lang, Annie Lennox, Shirley MacLaine, Roy Orbison, Dolly Parton, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Sybil Shepherd, Paul Simon, Paul Taylor, Uma Thurman, Oscar Wilde, Tiger Woods. And the last one we're going to do today is our Sun in Libra, and we've got to another cardinal sign. The Sun in Libra people are graceful, magnetic, and are known for being social and charming. Librans are experts at avoiding being the one to blame. When confronted, they'll calmly and reasonably say, "What, me? No, I just wanted peace." On the fence, middle of the ground, middle of the road, these are all expressions that we can safely associate with Libra because it's about balance. This is what it's the scales. Libra natives are generally thought to be sociable, somewhat intellectual souls. They have an almost innocent way about them that makes them very approachable. Generally quite eager to cooperate, Librans spend a lot of time trying not to rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat over. In theory, Librans are peace-loving. In practice, they can quietly stir up all sorts of trouble with their ways. Because Librans enjoy balance in their lives, they seek the middle ground, and in the process, they may end up trying to be everything to everyone. That's the balance thing. That's what's hard about that. This is where their reputation for untruthfulness comes from. Generally, their untruths spring from a true desire for peace and fairness. Although they may not be comfortable with direct and malicious trickery, they feel totally justified to lie in order to avoid making waves. Think about that. I mean, don't want to upset the balance. You know, it's like, it's not really, trickery. They want to keep the balance, and sometimes if it's like, if I do this, so this person doesn't get upset, that's better. Some more powerful signs may consider Libra a little on the weak side. This is all a matter of opinion, however. Librans are known for comparing and thinking in relative terms instead of in absolutes. Harmony is the ultimate goal, but their idealism and high expectations can mean plenty of discontent. Since life presents all of us with an extraordinary amount of choices, if Libra doesn't learn to live in the moment at least some of the time, they'll be in a constant state of unrest. So remember we said about Aries, it's like in the moment. It's like it's happy being right in the moment. And its opposite is is this, you know, is Libra. So this is what Aries has to learn. And then, you know, Libra has to learn some of the in the moment of Aries, but Aries needs to learn, you know, to, where is it right here? It's like to live in the, okay. Where is it here? Libra, okay. Since life presents us all with extraordinary amount of choices, if Libra doesn't learn to live in the moment, at least most times they'll be in a constant state of unrest there. Society needs rules, and these rules attempt to bring justice, equality, and fairness. On an individual level, Libra represents these laws of civilization. Libra comes across as very civilized and refined. You know, where it's opposite. Aries is like, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's the pioneer. All right. People's sun in Libra. Mahatma Gandhi. Now think about this in like how this person is a kind of a balancer. Vladimir Putin, Eminem, John Lennon. That's probably the biggest one that in Gandhi that stick out with me. Will Smith, Gwen Stefani, Aleister Crowley. Now this is a strange one. I mean, because this guy was weird. Sting. Sting has got a lot of really good, interesting, balancing kind of music, showing you both sides. And you know, I was like, what some of this early stuff he's writing about was troubled, you know, relationships. You know, don't stand so close to me, and you know, so definitely balancing in there. Libra rising. All right, so now we're going to put this on the outside, not just personality, but the outer shell that you're going to see. Everybody seems to like Libra ascendant natives. They just come across as nice, pleasant, and fair. Look a little closer at their lives, and these nice people may have had quite a few problems in their relationships. Some of them have had a string of relationships, and it can be hard to imagine why. These natives attract others to them effortlessly. Besides, they simply don't know what to do with themselves without a significant other. Libra rising generally appear to be smoothing everything over. They have charming smiles, a gentle approach with others, and an easygoing image. Even if they were not endowed with good looks, they are attractive. Most pay a lot of attention to their personal appearance, the colors they wear, their hair, the makeup, the way they walk. I've noticed actually a lot of Libra risings are good looking. They're very pretty, or they're very handsome, or they have very refined features. Libra rising people can be enormously persuasive, although they will almost always use a soft sell approach when they want to win others over, which is all the time. A tendency to pass the buck and keep up with that nice gal or guy image are their worst qualities. However, they can make excellent mediators and will generally be the first to accommodate you. They are usually attracted to competent, active partners. That's the opposite, right? They need that. Their relationships are often characterized by bickering or competitiveness until they learn to drop their sweet image once in a while and to stop blaming their partner for everything that goes wrong. Libra ascendants are vulnerable to any excess that throws the physical body out of harmony. This can result in a variety of ailments, including kidneys, bladder, and sex organs. In some ways, your persona is the balance of an object at rest. Metaphysically, you appreciate the space between activities, so your persona reflects that kind of calm. This contemplative expression indicates that you can achieve a balance between your physical life and your soul life. As you learn to work with duality in a conscious way, your persona becomes calmer, and you are able to affect change in the world without stirring up the energy more than necessary. Famous people, Leo rising, Paula Abdul, Robert Blake, Bon Jovi, Sonny Bono, Chevy Chase, Tim Conway, Alice Cooper, Neil Diamond, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sally Field, Harrison Ford, Red Fox, Jerry Garcia, Barry Gibb, Andy Griffith, Rock Hudson, Quincy Jones, Carole King, Emerald Lagasse, the chef, Monica Lewinsky, Lee Majors, and Eddie Van Halen. All right, so I think that's all I got for today. Yeah, I got part 2. All right, so there's a lot there. I think that's going to start to put a little bit of a space in your mind with these, both of these characteristics with people, and learning to see the inside, the sun, and then the outer character. And again, I find it interesting when you can get something that's quite opposite. They just this is their sun, their personality, and then you've got something really different side of that person. And that's what's the really interesting ones, I think, that stand out to learn better. Sometimes they're similar, like mine is very similar. So it's kind of hard to see that difference. They're both fire. I've got Aries sun with the Leo rising. So there's both fire energies and they overlap. Or that person I told you a minute ago with the Scorpio sun and the Cancer rising. They're both water, but the Scorpio sun is a really, really different personality than a Cancer rising. You get that motherly nurturing, and then this stinging sun. It's just they're totally different. So those are some ways to just kind of get that in your head, and to start looking at people, start looking at charts, looking at your family, looking at people I tried to give some of the different celebrities and authors and people that you might know, just to kind of get some, but you don't really know them as a person, you just see them out there. So that's just one way of learning and kind of getting that. But if you can get people that and look at them and just kind of people that are close to you as much as possible to get that, especially if we can find the birth times of people, that makes it easier as you're studying the astrology. So what else was I going to tell you? Again, this, you've got to blend some of the other stops and starts about this. So as you're looking at this, again, we're looking at layers. You look at one layer and then you look at another. It's like you look at the sun and the sign, and then you look at the sun in the house, and then you look at the ascendant, and then you look at some of the other planets. We've already done exercises where you tally up how many cardinal fixed mutables, how many, masculine, feminine, how many of the elements, earth, air, water, fire, how many are in there. And then you can look again to see, are their houses represent those things. So we can see those layers, like, do you really not have any fire in your chart? Maybe you don't have no fire, but you have lots of stuff in the fire houses. So that counts, okay? So there's certain things that kind of check and balance other things. And then again, the ruling planet, is it, which we'll go into, but if somebody that already know the ruling planet of each sign, is it going to enhance or detract from this? For instance, we're looking at the sun. So the ruling planet of the sun, is that, or I should say, the ruling planet of like the ascendant. So say the ascendant was like Leo. So the ruling planet of Leo is the sun. Now, where is the sun? Is it something that's going to conflict with that Leo? What kind of angle is it going to make? Like I told you, mine were two fire signs, so there's a trine there, at least by element. We could go look at degree. What about somebody that is what's an inconjunct? A Gemini sun and a Capricorn rising. So we're going to put those angles in with this. So what is the angle of that? We can kind of talk about that a little bit. Are they harmonious? Your sun sign with your outer exterior, are they, what kind of angle is it making with yourself, to how you show yourself to the world? Is it flowing? Is it squaring? Is it opposing? It's like, what if you're an Aries sun with a Libra rising? That's going to be this kind of push-pull. You're going to be this Aries inside, but then this other oriented on the outside, or what if you're an Aries sun with a Cancer rising? Now you're squaring yourself. So you got this Aryan sun energy kind of being squared with this caring, nurturing, soft exterior. So you can imagine that warrior inside when this soft exterior. So you can see how these things will blend with each other and how it just mushes. Nothing's better or not, or better than anything else, or good or bad. It's just one of the combinations. And then we would then add like the ruling planet. Is that adding to this, or is it kind of not? So anyway, I kept you over a little bit, and I hope you've enjoyed this because I think this is really important, and people have a hard time with this, and it helps you look at yourself too. You know, you have to kind of define out, separate out your inner true sun nature, and then what you're showing to the world, what your mask is to the world, how you're presenting yourself. So it's all good, and I hope you've learned some. Please invite people to our class. You can give them that same address or have them message me. And also, I just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of other cool parts of astrology, and I would be happy to go over that with anybody at any time. Even you check my Astro Breeze channel, look at the things about astrology and what you can do, you know, the different parts about how do you look at the future, how do you compare people, how do you interact with your environment, how do you look where you live, and all those interactions. It's fascinating. So hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you next week with part 2.